Welcome to today's Explainer. If you're trying to make sense of the macro forces shaping our world right now, you are in the exact right place. We're looking at the landscape as of August 14th, 2026, and honestly, the sheer volume of converging global events is just staggering to look at. We're seeing seemingly isolated daily news items from tech earnings to maritime conflicts to shifting weather patterns, and they're actually deeply connected threads in a much larger narrative about global execution under extreme pressure. I am absolutely thrilled you're here to unpack all this with me today. So let's just dive right in.
So, what connects a naval blockade in the Middle East, a massive $500 billion artificial intelligence fund, and a Pacific hurricane bearing down on Hawaii? On the surface, absolutely nothing. But when we really look at the underlying systems, our supply chains, our energy grids, human infrastructure, they're all intimately linked by just how heavily stressed our global operational capacity is right now.
All right, here's our roadmap for today. First, we'll hit global tensions in energy. Second, the AI infrastructure boom. Third, cyber risks in tech. Fourth, extreme weather in health. And finally, we'll wrap up with the Economic Balancing Act.
Okay, starting with Section 1, global tensions and energy.
What's truly fascinating here is the sheer scale of the geopolitical standoff taking place in the Strait of Hormuz right now. We basically have two entirely competing realities. On one side, the United States is claiming it controls the strait through an indefinite naval blockade, with the Treasury Department preparing unprecedented economic measures to isolate Iran. But on the exact same waterway, Iran maintains total authority, claiming it determines precisely which vessels are allowed to pass. So this isn't just political rhetoric, right? This is a direct, physical clash over literally one of the most critical energy arteries on the planet.
And that standoff, it's producing immediate physical risks. The UAE is accusing Iran of attacking two ADNO-linked vessels in less than a week, condemning the acts as piracy. Now, what does this mean for the supply chain? Well, a sharp drop in visible traffic. Only 9 commodity ships passed through on Thursday, which is well below the August average. But, and here's the wild operational reality hidden in all this, tankers are just turning off their transponders. These hidden tanker movements make the actual traffic incredibly difficult to measure. It's turning global logistics into this opaque, chaotic environment.
Now, logically, you might expect this level of maritime conflict to just send oil prices through the roof, but look at the actual energy market response. Yes, Brent crude and West Texas Intermediate gained almost 2%, nearing $88.50 and $83 respectively. But the real story is the paradox buffering that tension. We just saw U.S. crude inventories record their largest weekly increase in 3 years, and both OPEC and the IEA are forecasting contracting global demand. So, the crucial takeaway here is that weak global demand and record American inventories are actually acting like a giant shock absorber, limiting those severe price spikes you'd normally expect from this level of geopolitical danger.
Moving right along to Section 2, the AI infrastructure boom.
$500 billion. Just let that number sink in for a second. NVIDIA is currently partnering with major financial firms in a move that could mobilize up to $500 billion specifically for AI infrastructure. And we're not just talking about software here. This is massive physical infrastructure, data centers, cutting-edge processors, networking equipment, the insanely complex cooling systems, and the massive electricity grids required to run them all. It spreads the investment risk way beyond tech companies, pulling in private credit and institutional funds. To put that into perspective, this brilliantly illustrates the real-world scale of the boom. Foxconn's second quarter revenue breakdown shows AI servers now make up 51% of their entire Q2 revenue. Think about that. Foxconn, a company most of us traditionally associate with assembling consumer smartphones, is now generating the majority of its cash from the AI infrastructure cycle. That is a monumental shift in global manufacturing priorities.
But why does this matter to you? Well, because of this exact dynamic. This massive build-out of AI data centers is aggressively competing for components. It's driving up memory and storage prices across the board. So even if you never intentionally use an advanced AI feature in your life, the ripple effect of this infrastructure boom means you are likely going to pay more for everyday consumer electronics, like your next smartphone or laptop.
Which leads us to Section 3, cyber risks in tech.
Tech companies are being forced to execute under extreme pressure from literally all sides right now. A hacking group is currently claiming a massive data theft against heavyweights like Shell, Philips, GE, and Pfizer, forcing some really intense internal exposure assessments. At the very same time, AI developers, like OpenAI, are having to actively evaluate their upcoming models just to ensure they don't accidentally possess dangerous offensive cybersecurity capabilities that bad actors could exploit. Add in geopolitical restrictions, like Microsoft shifting its traditional strategy in China due to domestic regulations and export restrictions, and you basically have an industry trying to sprint forward while tiptoeing through a digital minefield.
Pivoting now to Section 4, Extreme Weather and Health.
Consider the sheer diversity of nationwide threats happening at the exact same time. We've got Tropical Storm Lala approaching Hawaii, potentially strengthening into a hurricane. Saharan dust is visibly reducing air quality across Texas and the Gulf Coast, posing real respiratory risks. Meanwhile, the central and southern plains are just baking under entrenched, dangerous heat, and the Midwest is dealing with excessive rainfall and severe flooding. Monitoring all this, it requires massive computational power, which is exactly why satellite monitoring and AI prediction models are becoming absolutely crucial for issuing the clear, timely warnings communities rely on.
To make this concrete, let's look at what actually happens when these macro forces hit a local community. Hawaii is in escalating preparation mode. With a hurricane watch active for the Big Island, they're anticipating anywhere from 5 to a catastrophic 20 inches of isolated rain. That means immediate, physical action on the ground. Residents are urgently securing medication, stockpiling drinking water, and setting up backup generators before the infrastructure potentially fails.
And on top of severe weather, our health and regulatory systems are managing acute biological threats. A multi-state cyclospora outbreak linked to contaminated lettuce has already hit patients in 15 states, tragically resulting in 2 deaths. This is all happening while the U.S. is experiencing its highest annual measles total in decades, primarily affecting unvaccinated individuals. It's just a stark reminder of the constant, immense pressure on our public health and food tracing systems.
Meanwhile, as communities manage weather and health, our cultural spaces are navigating their own unique pressures. For instance, the Kennedy Center Board recently voted to add President Trump's name to its exterior. A federal judge had previously ordered his name removed, so this decision risks sparking a renewed legal dispute. It serves as a really prominent example of the ongoing disagreements over political authority happening within our major cultural institutions.
And finally, Section 5, the Economic Balancing Act.
Let's look at the financial core of all this. 63%. Traders currently assign a 63% probability to the Federal Reserve holding interest rates steady at their September meeting. Why? Because despite all the global chaos we've just covered, domestic consumer and producer inflation has actually remained surprisingly mild.
This leads to a truly fascinating market dynamic. The S&P 500 is sitting at a record high, up about 14% for the year, driven by those favorable financial conditions and steady Fed expectations. Brent crude is elevated, but stabilized by weak demand, and the Japanese yen is strengthening on speculation of their own rate hikes. So we're watching a booming, confident stock market actively trying to balance against a backdrop of undeniable and growing global instability.
So what is the so what for you and me? Look at how career demands are evolving. There is an unquenchable need for specialists who can build and run AI data centers and networks. As companies like Pony.ai and Uber deploy thousands of robotaxis, they suddenly need safety engineers and remote compliance operators. We need maritime logistics analysts who can figure out how to route cargo when tankers go dark to avoid blockades. Even outdoor employers are fundamentally shifting how they work to manage entrenched extreme heat. The crucial point is this: the new durable career advantage is your ability to manage complex, automated systems within highly unpredictable environments.
So I want to leave you with this final provocative thought. We are pouring hundreds of billions of dollars into AI, automation, and advanced technology. But as we've seen today, our physical world is just fraught with supply chain choke points, cyber vulnerabilities, and extreme weather events. Can our physical infrastructure, our power grids, and our operational reliability actually expand fast enough to support the massive financial bets we are making on the future? It's really the defining question of the year. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep learning, keep questioning, and I will see you next time.